Hi everyone, this is Jamil Medina. If anyone, like Andrew said, have any questions about the user group, want to participate, helping us with the user group, or want to be a speaker of the user group in the near future, we're hoping to, keep doing this every month. It's going to be virtual. So let us know if you have any questions about the user group. If you have any topics or things that you want us to cover on future meetings, let us know. We're here to, provide as much help as possible to the Central Florida community. So let us know. Any questions, anything, please unmute yourself and let us know or put it in the chat. Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and get things started here. I see a couple more people trickling in, but it seems like it's kind of steady now. So as Emil had mentioned, there's both myself and Emil Medina who are leading the Orlando Alteryx user group. As you can tell, there's from 2018 and 2019, there's no 2020 Inspire, but I do hope that we'll see most of you in Dallas in 2021. That's going to be June timeframe. So if any of you are just kind of trying to understand when the next conference is going to be, it is slated for Dallas next year. They are accepting some speaker submissions. I think it ends like November timeframe. If you go to the Inspire page, it'll give you some of that information there as well. So please let me know again if you have any questions about that. More than happy to help any of you who are looking to present. And again, it doesn't have to be work related. It could be even personal things or even aspects related to the community. So we look forward to seeing any of you who are interested in presenting and helping you along the way. As we talk about what are we going to be going through today, there's going to be a few different aspects here. We've got some announcements and some trivia. I'll even give you a hint on the trivia. It's going to be on the transform tools. So if you're a little rusty, you can study for the next couple minutes in the background. Also, as we're talking about Alteryx, we are going to be going over a couple new aspects. So one is going to be very brief, high level, the Intelligence Suite. Please message in the chat if you have an Intelligence Suite license, just so we can get an understanding of how many people this is appealing to. We have two things that we want to go over next month, which all the user groups between here and May are going to be on the second Tuesday of the month. So that means October the 6th will be the next user group, and the things that we have slated for that include the new aspects of server, reviewing some of those components, as well as a deeper dive into the Intelligence Suite. Right now, I just wanted to give a brief high-level overview in case you were curious what it was. And then also some 2020.3 features. There's some really cool components related to that. If you haven't checked it out yet, I want to make sure to share that. And then obviously you can talk to your IT department and submit a ticket, or talk to your admin if you have an environment with a server where you can ask them to also go ahead and get that upgraded for you. And then we actually have a guest speaker as well, Quinn Hu, who's got some amazing stuff to show us with the new Alteryx UIPath partnership. And what he's going to be doing is showcasing how, if you are using RPA, how can you maybe solve some of those harder use cases that you have where an RPA tool is better suited for extracting the data, or even submitting the data in like a web form. But the rest of the things that you really need to do are in Alteryx. He's going to highlight some of the different ways that those pieces can collaborate. And then, of course, at the tail end of this, we're going to have the Fix Your Flow. So if any of you have any workflows that you would like to share or need some help on, we're more than happy to do that. And then I know the 2 topics that we have are pretty heavy today. So if you do have any questions, again, please feel free to submit it in the chat, or we'll open up the audio, and we're more than happy to help everybody with any questions that they have relating to these topics or others. And then, as always, we are part of the Alteryx community. So hopefully that's how most of you heard about us today. If you haven't signed up for the community already, please do so. And then there's a handful of different things that are available on there. Obviously, there's some blogs. There's a dev area that you can look at if you're interested in creating tools. We've got quite a few cool ones that are coming out in the Alteryx Public Gallery. If you haven't taken a peek in there in a while, there's quite a bit going on, so make sure you do that. And then obviously the weekly challenges, we're above 250 of those weekly challenges. So if you wanted to start a new habit, you basically have one a day that you could do for almost an entire year. And then as we're talking about other aspects, you can stay up to date with things that we're doing with the user group as well if you go to the groups area of the community. And then we've even got some job postings and some various things there to get excited about. As Yamil had mentioned, if you are interested in speaking, we got a couple more slots open for the remainder of the year. We are looking for a speaker a month. So if you take a look, we've got the 2021 call for speakers for the Orlando user group up. So if you do go into the Orlando user group page, you'll notice that there's a link there. You can submit the survey and go ahead and request a slot for speaking. And then, as always, we are looking to help you with some of that. And this could even be a preparation if you are looking at speaking at the conference next year. You can even utilize the user group to do a dry run of that. And then what I'll actually do is go ahead and post that link here in the chat as well. Give me just a second. Actually, it's not going to let me extract that. Yeah, so let me grab that for you guys here, and we'll go ahead and post it in the chat. And then, as we were just discussing, this is a weekly challenges, and they've got some cool ones here that actually kind of tie into what we're doing in terms of the natural language processing and different components with Alteryx. So this one's from last week, where it's determining place value chart. And then ironically, the one from this week is about filling in a check. I just remodeled our house, and other than that, I couldn't even remember the last time that I had to fill out a paper check. So this is something fun that you can talk through with your kids, or if you're helping out a local school or church, can help them with some life skills and even work on your Alteryx skills in the process. So as we're talking about this, if you do have some ideas for weekly challenges, feel free to send them to academy.alteryx.com. They especially love to hear of like some real world examples, or if you're doing some Alteryx work in your spare time. Like I was just speaking with a gentleman the other day who is helping his children's Bible study group figure out how to distribute all the materials to the kids. So there's some fun, different practical ways that you can explore ways to use Alteryx. And then obviously, as we talk about Alteryx, there's opportunities for improvement for the platform, and part of the way that Alteryx goes about creating that, which we'll be talking about some of those new features here in a second, relating to both the the 2023 release as well as the Intelligence Suite. They're constantly improving their tools on the platform. One that's in beta right now, if you're users of Adobe Analytics, they do have a beta of the Adobe tool with some new features available on there that they're beta testing. So if that is a tool that you would like to see some improvement around, they're looking for some feedback on that. We've also got Snowflake Bulk Loader that just went through recently. And then obviously some additional features as well. So please just make sure to check it out and then provide them with some feedback. And then you can, again, just search beta program in the community and that'll pull right up and you can sign up. And all they request is that you have a valid Alteryx license and they'll get you in the program. All right. And then if you're just enjoying listening to some cool radio voices and wanted to hear some inspiration in the morning, I know we don't have our daily commute, but if you're still listening maybe to some news or different aspects related to data in the morning or at the end of the day, check out the Alter Everything podcast. It's really good. They just did a sandbox series where they were talking about various aspects related to learning, as well as ways that you can help. The other part that's been interesting is they have the Adapt series. So currently, if you're here, hopefully, I hope that everyone here is gainfully employed, but if you did get laid off or furloughed during this recession, they do have the Alteryx Adapt program, which they're extending into 2021, which provides you with a free Alteryx license as well as free training. And some of the things that they're talking about are different ways that you can look at Alteryx, as well as the analytics culture as a whole. And you just get a variety of perspectives, and this is something that they're running at least once a week. So please feel free to check it out. And I think they're at like 60 or 70 different podcasts. So there's plenty of content there as well. All right. Who's ready for some trivia? Yeah, I think their servers are getting overloaded today. There we go. All right. So if you're not familiar with Kahoot, you can, if you're on your computer, you can do kahoot.it, and I'll go ahead and post this in the chat. So you'll just navigate to the site, and then you can pop in your game pin, and that'll get you set up. Or if you have the Kahoot app, you can also sign in there as well. Oh man, the word must have gotten out that we've got a Kahoot going on, because I see a couple people joining the user group meeting still. So please feel free, again, I'll post this in the chat again so everybody can see it. Feel free to sign in, and I'll give you guys another 2 minutes to sign in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, and for those of you that haven't played Kahoot, what you're going to see is the question here on this screen, and then you're going to see the 4 answers here, and then on your screen you're going to see the colors that you can select in order to click the correct answer. Now, the other piece that we will note here is that part of this is speed. So please not only focus on getting the question right, try and do it as quickly as possible, and that'll determine your points. All right. Awesome. It looks like we've got plenty of people signed in. We'll give it one more minute here. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. So we've got some transform tools. With this tool, you can group by sum, average, and perform other functions in your data set. What tool is it? All right. Now I know it's the middle of the day because you guys are getting these pretty easily. So we've got the summarize tool. The arrange will help you group columns and essentially move around the headers to align them properly. You've got the crosstab, which will pivot. And then you've got running totals. So if you had something like, let's say, a account balance that you were looking at tracking, and then you have all of the daily transactions, you could do that over time across your entire data set. Oh, Kelly G in the lead. All right, let's see if Talus or Dynamomo can steal that lead from Kelly G. What's this next question? So this tool allows the user to manually manipulate columns to transpose the data. Arrange. How many people use the arrange tool? Is everybody a big user of the arrange tool? Rarely? Oh, uh-oh, Kelly. Let's see, did this get you in trouble? No! Oh, Maureen, never. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I would definitely recommend checking it out. Remember, if you use the global search, you can just search arrange and then hit the example button, and it'll show you some different use cases for it. If you use the transpose and crosstab tool a lot, this can be extremely helpful in if those groupings and things are pretty simple, then it's a nice way of doing that all inside of one tool. All right. It looks like Dalvis and Ellen is sneaking up the pack here. All right, let's do the next question. This tool will take a narrow data set and make it wider. That's right, crosstab. Oh man, this one always gets me. I get the crosstab and the transpose mixed up. And I'm trying to think of probably the easiest way, if we're looking at the two of those, to remember is if we look at these two tools. The transpose has the first part of the T. So you see the top line going across and then the bottom one. So T transpose, and then crosstab, if you look, it has like half the C there. So that's the only way that I can remember that on a regular basis. Otherwise, I get them mixed up all the time. Oh, Kelly G's on fire. Let's see, we're almost halfway through. Scott's sneaking up there. Oh no, this tool is actually a macro. That's right, Count Records tool is actually a macro. And how can we tell if this is a macro? So if ever you're questioning whether something is a macro or not, you can go ahead and take it, drop it on the canvas, and you can right click and you'll see open macro. So if you're ever curious as to what's in here, how we're going about doing this, you can see that existing inside here, right? Kelly G, man, you got lightning fingers here, and Scott's catching up. All right, Dynamomo, I think you can still at least get in second there. We just need one good question to throw everybody off here. All right, this tool will count the number of records in a data set. This might be a trick question. Oh no, it's Count Records tool. So if ever you want to know how many records are in your data set, this is nice for just doing a quick check to make sure you got everything and that there's no duplicates. You can run a Count Records tool if you've got that aggregate sum. You can also see that information like in a browse tool in your results window as well. And just watch the log information in the results. All right. All right, it looks like Kelly G's starting to break away a little bit here. Let's see what we can do in the back half of questions here. And Dynamomo, we just got to work on that speed. All right, let's see what this next question holds for us. This tool evaluates the total for a particular column for each row in the data set. That's right. So for each and every row, it's evaluating what that total is going to be. So as we're looking, that may include a sum of the last total there. Oh no, got some shifts here. It's definitely a tricky one. Okay, let's see what the next question holds. This tool takes a value and generates an average based on the relative importance of each value. Should be taking you back to your algebra days. That's right, weighted average. Oh man, we've got some shifting going on here. Let's see, it's anybody's race now. This tool takes a wide data set and makes it narrow. transpose. Oh, Jan, it could be your day today. Let's see if we can Z's on fire here. Maybe it can steal the lead. This changes into a giant robot. All right. Got to make sure everyone's paying attention here. Oh, Jam still has it. All right, we're down to the final question. Who's going to steal the cake? Oh, and this one's kind of tricky. So it's a company that I work for. And also the host of most of our user groups. Data meaning. All right. Oh, who won it? Jam. Awesome. Now we got to make sure we post this on the community page as well. Let's get a nice screenshot of this. Awesome. So thank you guys for playing. We'll post this on the community page as well. And then if you guys want that quiz, I'll make sure to post it in the chat as well. So if you want to play that locally with your company or just with some of your fellow team members, we'll make sure that you have access to that. And then we had also talked briefly about the Intelligence Suite. So what I want to do is dive into that here for a couple minutes and also talk about 2023 tips and tricks. So we've got, just put this slide up just for a second here. So if you're interested in 2020.3 features, how many of you have 2020.3 downloaded? Okay.
Yeah, let us know in the chat, and thanks for participating. And any feedback about the Kahoot and the trivia, let us know. Thanks.
Please, or if you have some trivia questions you'd like to see up there.
Oh, yeah.
Be excited to have those.
Yes.
All right, so let's dive into the two of these. So 2020.3 has some really cool features. If you haven't seen them yet, we'll start here with a blank canvas, just so you've got some ideas of some things going on here. So you can see the canvas itself stayed the same. I did add this in here, which is called the find replace. And as we talk about this, it's interesting because this isn't something that's offered here in the view window, but if ever you're in Microsoft Office and you happen to be over here in the Alteryx window and you hit Control F, this window is going to pop up. And just like in any of those Windows applications, it's going to help you find something. So you can see here, I was looking for a particular field. In this instance, it's called due date. And with due date, you see all of the tools that actually contain that field value. So this has been around for a while, but they've been slowly enhancing this. So before, it used to be this window would pop up and then, okay, I found what I'm looking for. I can click on it and it'll take me to that tool. But then I had to close it out and then go into this tool and adjust what I needed to and come back in here. What's interesting now is a couple different things. One, I can see you'll see all these tools are blocked out or framed out. So I can see where this value applies across here. So if I'm trying to understand, hey, my filter is what's breaking on this due date field, where is that field coming from? And if I wanted to trace it, I could trace this through here. So this is available to everybody when you download 2020.3. But the more important piece is, if you've ever had a field that you've wanted to replace, because maybe you renamed it, it got renamed in the data source, and typically you'll just drop a select tool and then rename it for everything going forward. Now, rather than doing that, what I could actually do is rename that field across the entire workflow. And the way that I can do that is I can click here on due date, and let's say this should be expiration date. I can hit replace all here, and you'll see across these, I can get those adjusted. I can hit replace all, and then it's going to go through the workflow and adjust all of those instances where that exists, and you can see it cleared it out. So I've got no instances of due date anymore, but if I were to look for expiration date, I can see those exact instances come back up, and I could type due date back here again, and then I could do replace all, and you even have, what does that match look like? So this is great because I would almost be at tears at this point, given how many times I've had a workflow where we've decided to adjust the name on the source data, and then now I've got the entire workflow when I go to publish the production version. You can clean that up and identify that. So another huge time saver that was added in 2020.3 is if you click on the browse tool, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. So I'll click hide here. That'll just kind of hide it away. But as we look at the browse tool, what you'll notice is this has constantly been getting updates as of late. So if you hover over, this was the first feature added, I think it was 2018 that they started adding this, where it had the little sample here just to let you know what the health of the column is. And then they actually carried that information over to the configuration pane in the browse tool. But what's interesting now is this has become interactive in terms of us being able to search and even add tools here via the hamburger stack whenever we do some sorting or filtering. So if I did a sort on this, I could add that sort here, and then I could just add the tools to Canvas if I chose. But what's something that's interesting here is if now I were curious about, hey, what's some more information on this supplier's country, I could click on that and dive deeper into it. The other thing I could also do, if I just wanted to see maybe specific data types, I could go ahead and look at all of the string fields to see maybe are there any string fields that are out of alignment here. And then if I wanted to examine those particular fields, looking just at the string fields, maybe I want to look at just the item descriptions. And then let's say we also wanted to look at the country. So I could examine just those two. And from here, if I wanted to see more information, I could dig in and see all of those values. Obviously, we only have a handful here, but it will literally show you all distinct values and then what the frequency is in terms of those occurrences. So if you were familiar with the data investigation tools, I'm using a user version, a non-admin version here. So not all the tools exist here. But if we look at the admin version, you'll see there were a variety of tools that exist here. So let me go ahead and pull that up here. Give me just a second. So if we look at that set of tools, you'll notice more and more of these are getting integrated automatically That's right. I said automagically because it's all behind the scenes and you had zero work to do. It's getting incorporated for you here, so that way you can go ahead and have that at every single point in your data as you're looking through these data sets. So if we wanted to examine some of this information, we can throughout the entire workflow. So as we're talking about some of the new aspects, the other thing that I mentioned was obviously the intelligence suite. So those couple pieces were some higher level components related to 2020.3. With 2020.2, the launch of the intelligence suite came out, which is some of these new tools here. So if you don't recognize these, as soon as you download the newer version, these are going to be available for you to see. Now, this is an add-on for Alteryx. The list price is $2,300 a seat, so just be aware of that if you are interested in exploring these tools. And obviously, you can talk with your Alteryx rep if you are interested in just trying them out. So what these tools are meant for is text mining and machine learning. So what I'm going to do is, just because I'm sure most people probably aren't familiar with this, I'm going to do a couple slides here real quick. And then again, we're going to do a high level overview of what these tools are capable of. And then if you can, please, if you're interested in seeing these some more, then just go ahead and post that in the chat. And then what we'll do is we'll incorporate a larger session on these in next month's user group. Sound good? Okay, so let me share just a couple slides here on the intelligence suite. So one of the sets is around text mining. So the text mining suite, what it's meant to do is essentially extract things like PDFs, or you could even have images. So if you do have images, that could be, ironically, an image that's a PDF. Or if you wanted to extract a blob, you could do that. So there was the old blob tool that did do extraction. This just provides another means of going about doing that. So you've got a couple different ways of accomplishing that. So you'll see extracting images or extracting text from PDFs or images. And then it's meant to just reduce the amount of copy and paste that you're doing. The other thing it also is meant to do is just kind of gather and distill some of that information for you with things like the topic modeling, or just to give you a high level overview, like the word cloud. And then as we look to what is all that information telling us, obviously we know how to do that pretty easily with things like numerical information and quantitative information. But when we look at qualitative information, that can be a little harder to do. So what this is meant to do is give you those first couple steps in terms of doing things like topic modeling, sentiment analysis, and then it's meant to just kind of bring that to life for you or whoever is consuming those PDFs. So this is great if you're extracting things from like annual reports, if you're in the finance industry, if you're getting a report from like a third party, sometimes they only give those reports to you in PDFs. That could be true from like CMS, if you're working in healthcare, or obviously if you're extracting things like another company's menu, if you're in the restaurant or tourism industry. That could even be prices. That information could be on a PDF. So this provides you some means of extracting some of that information. Please keep in mind as we're talking about this is a V1 product. So is it going to replace, if you're using some massive system like AWS Recognize, IBM Watson, or Azure, it's not going to replace any of those systems, but the difference that you will see here is this license is obviously an annual subscription. And unlike most of those services that I just named, which are essentially pay as you go. So what I typically recommend is stacking these. So you can do something like this platform as well as to take care of most of those basic use cases, or at least do an initial pass. And then for the more complicated PDFs, you can have utilize the same workflow. And if it doesn't reach your thresholds in terms of providing you the information you need, then you can use an Alteryx workflow to trigger like an API call for some of those other platforms and process that information there. The other piece is machine learning, or ML, with assisted modeling. So this was debuted again a couple years ago if you went to Inspire, they had it during the lab hours. And then they also talked about it last year. So this assisted modeling tool is set up to where you can essentially walk through step by step how to model your data sets. And what's interesting is it's going to comply with some data science best practices, so you can learn this if you are interested in upskilling yourself. And then it also helps provide you with more confident predictions by giving you some of those guidelines. And then as we talk about this, you don't necessarily have to use this tool. This is kind of keeping the training wheels on, so to speak. And then they do have an expert mode, which essentially you can take any of the tools that you see here and configure them manually. And then also what this actually does is deploy all these tools. So I'll walk through that at a high level. And again, we'll circle back around with that at a later date. So the other piece I'm going to touch on here is it does allow you to compare those models step by step. And then we can create ongoing actionable intelligence by taking that model, which is literally like a YXDB. You can package it up, and then you can port that over to other workflows. That way you don't have to rerun an entire process training the model every time. You can just focus on predicting the results after that model's been trained. So as we're talking about this, what is that? Just going to touch on a couple high-level pieces here. So what does that template look like? Essentially, you can go in here and you can grab a PDF. So let me just grab, let's say, this one, for instance. And if I were interested in grabbing this, I could open it up and we'll see a PDF page. And if I were interested in doing this, I could literally come in here, and what I can do is, if I wanted all of this text, I can grab all of this text here like this, give it a name like test, save, and then that's going to become our template. And then you can see in this case, we were doing it with invoices. It'll take an entire directory of those. If we're looking at this tool, it's going to take an entire directory of those inputs, and you can see it's, again, pulling them in blobs. And then it's going to take that template and cross-reference it, and then clean the data, processing it, and then giving us columns like this. So if it were invoices, essentially we could see all those columns and then have all those descriptions listed here. And then as we're looking at this, where did I get this workflow from? I just want to make sure everybody who's watching this today with us would be able to access this workflow. So you can see this is actually in the Intelligence Suite starter kit. So it's under Validate Invoices at Risk. We're going to go through in the next session, if you guys are interested, some workflows that aren't in this set that will give us a higher level overview. But again, I just wanted to show you, hey, there's definitely some amazing use cases in here. My favorite one is definitely the candidate's resume is predicting. It's got pretty much everything from the Intelligence Suite baked into this workflow. And it's really fun because you can see they're pulling in some PDFs. You've got some geospatial information. We've got talenting top talent. And this in the newest release is great because the other thing that it actually does is you can even say, hey, I want you to tell me what's best, and you can have one-click assisted modeling. So it definitely makes it easier in terms of helping you produce the results. And again, this is meant to help you get to those end insights as quickly as possible. So if you have an existing workflow, you could, if you did a trial of the Intelligence Suite, you could literally just try adding some of these components to it to understand what models you should be using if you haven't had a chance to do so yet. Okay, so on that, I'm just going to pause for a minute here. Does anybody have any questions? And then feel free to unmute yourself if you would like to see this next time, a deeper dive into some of these tools, so you can get a better feel whether it's something that would be helpful for you.
So Andrew, this is Jamil. So in this case, for the using what you have right now with this resume candidate, top performer. So the HR, representative will be able to like change or update or, like make it like a specific to, that department to get the specific top performers, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So when we look at this, I mean, basically they're trying to predict what the top performers in terms of candidates coming in are going to be. So obviously they're using a few different things, but distilling resumes, typically we're still looking over those, or we're asking to put the people who are applying, we're asking them, hey, can you copy and paste basically all the cells of your resume so that way we can process it? What if we could just say, hey, whatever format your resume is in, we'll just go ahead and process that. And then we may ask you for some additional aspects like where do you live? Yeah, so AP, I see you've got a trial key for Intelligence Suite. The Intelligence Suite starts opening up to you in version 2020.2. So even if you don't have admin privileges to your computer, you'll see this one that I'm on here right now. If I click help about, it's 2020.3 non-admin designer. So you don't have to have admin rights on your computer to install this and get access to the machine learning and text mining. So I just wanted to call that out as something that you still will have access to. And then Eric, PDF invoices that have multiple pages and have multiple rows depending on the number of transactions billed. This is a great question. And this is, I think, why I wanted to share with everybody what these tools are capable of. So when we talk about like how it goes about doing that, what you'll notice here when I do something like the template, I'm just going to click on this column here so you can kind of see what's in here. What is Alteryx saying that it's doing with this tool? And what you'll find is it's going to have some coordinates here. So you see an X, Y, and W coordinate. That essentially is where this fits inside the box. So what I found is it's pretty good as long as this box stays pretty stable. If it adjusts like radically, then I start to see some problems. Again, this is V1, so I expect to see some improvements here. This is a great question, Eric. So whenever you get into multiple pages, again, let's say in the invoice that I had as a template where the transactions were only here in this first section, but then I got another one that technically went to page 2 and had all those transactions, that's going to be a little harder for this to work with. There are some other tools out there that exist that are literally free, which I'll share one here right now. If you are interested in doing this, you can kind of set up the models. And again, I think Alteryx, for a V1, this is pretty good. I just want to see some more coming to fruition with this. So one thing this is one platform that I really love. It's called Taboola, and it's free. So I'm going to post this here in the chat for everyone to see here. But with this, what is good about this platform is, one, again, you will need admin rights for this, but if you do have it, essentially what it does is, let's see here, it will allow you to, let's take this, run as administrator. So what this allows you to do is, let's do local host. No, I've got to open it again. Let me do this. I'm just going to download and install it again. So if you crack this open, essentially it has a nice setup where what it's going to do is allow you to do a couple different ways of pulling in the data set, and then you can establish a template, and it will also auto recognize those tables. So this is something, it'll probably take a couple minutes here, but I can post it again in the chat in the Orlando user group. So if you are looking for some of this stuff and just trying to do some of this text recognition, it is obviously something that you have to work on. So don't expect like it to necessarily solve all your problems, but it can resolve a good majority of them. And as we're looking at this, like you can see here, like how many resumes am I going in and working with? You can see there's 25 resumes. And then what is it doing with all this information? If we wanted to see what this output was, I could come here and see a PDF, and then this is going to give me top candidate reports. So it's going to say how much experience do they have. So no relevant work experience. We've got 8.5 years with a PhD. And then where have they worked? So it'll extract this. So now it kind of makes it to where all this information is standardized. And at a high level, I can say, hey, does this person even qualify in terms of their work experience? And then where else have they worked? Because, ooh, I may be interested in someone who's worked at Netflix, because we're talking about content related stuff that we're doing. So maybe they have lots of experience with that. Or, ooh, it's more socially related. So we may be looking at Connect. So kind of keep that in mind. And that can give you a couple different options here to explore. So this definitely does sound like something we want to talk about more. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and slate like 30, 45 minutes for this in the next user group. Again, that's on the 6th, and it'll be lunchtime again. Okay, and then I know we kind of ran over on time here, and we're definitely going over time today. So without much further ado, I want to introduce Quinn Hu, and I'm going to give him control here. And he's going to talk a little bit about Alteryx and UiPath.
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, everyone. This is Quinn from Data Meaning. So first of all, let me just share my screen. All right, so today's topic is the Alteryx and the UiPath. So a couple of weeks ago, I believe like 1 month and 2 months ago, the Alteryx and the UiPath, they announced a partnership. So when we're talking about the Alteryx, we're referring to now we call the APA, the analytic process automation. And when we talk about the UiPath, we're referring to the RPA, which is robotic process automation. So how can we bring these two all together? Like some of you maybe already work using the Alteryx, some of maybe using the UiPath, and they're trying to explore the different, a possibility or solutions here. Just like, we just discussed like a PDF, right? So we can use Alteryx Intelligence Suite to do that, or we can use the UiPath to do that. So we can evaluate what's give you the best solution, or we can just, hey, maybe Alteryx handle this best. Let's just ask the Alteryx to do this part, and then let the UiPath handle the rest. All right, so first I'm just gonna cover the Alteryx and the UiPath in the overview, and then I'm just talking briefly how I went to use the Alteryx or the UiPath, and I will just gonna show you the demo, how we can use the UiPath to run the Alteryx, or another way around, use the Alteryx to run the UiPath. So basically, we want to integrate these two tools all together to fit into a bigger like project or the process. All right, so first of all, the Alteryx. So we have the input, which allows we to connect to the files, Excel, CSV file. Also allows we connect to the like database. To relate to today's topic, it's also we can use the the UIPath or RPA as the input for the Alteryx. So we can do all kinds of the the analysis, reporting, prediction. Then to the end, we can push the data or the report through the email or to the BI platform like Tableau, Power BI, or push it back to the RPA tool, in our case, UiPath. So when we develop all the workflow in the Alteryx Designer, the next step, we want to publish those Alteryx workflow to the server. So with the server, we have the web interface to consume. And also there's another option which I'm gonna spend time on is Alteryx Server or Alteryx Gallery provide the Gallery API for you to consume. So which if you're trying to develop some script or you want to integrate the the workflow or the apps hosted in the Alteryx Server through the third party, let's say the RPA tool. Okay, let me see here. Okay, I have some feedback. Let me just adjust my resolution here. So I think this should be better. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so Alteryx Server, again, it's provide the web interface, which allows the user, the end user to consume those workflow or the app, or the server also, expose the Gallery API for you to consume if you're trying to integrate with the third-party applications. So when we're talking about the, the Gallery API, so first of all, always remember you need to grab the API key and the secret. And in case you're not able to see that, you should ask the server admin to enable that for you. So I believe by default it's disabled. So you need to enable that and have the the API key. So you can use the list showing here to talk to the Alteryx Gallery. So we can do the jobs like get a list of the workflows, or maybe you want to publish the workflows through the API or run the workflow, or maybe just grab the results from the workflow. So there's many options for you. So definitely, if you want to learn more, just refer to the API documentation. So when we're talking about the RPA, it's short for robotic process automation, and it's kind of very similar. I would say, how they put it all together in the platform. So the UiPath, we talk specifically here, also have the 3 components, just similar to the Alteryx platform. So Alteryx have the designer, which allows you to develop the workflow. In the UiPath, we have the UiPath Studio, allows you to design the process. So Alteryx have the engine to execute the the workflow. The UiPath have the robot to execute the process. And the Alteryx have the server to host, to manage, to schedule the workflows, and the UiPath have the orchestrator to perform the similar functionality here. So UiPath, this is the RPA. And you may be wondering here, there's a APA and RPA, and then wonder how, when to use one or not another. So there's many things in common for these two tools. The biggest thing is that they both offer very user-friendly drag and drop interface. And another thing is they both offer the, it's called a code friendly in the Alteryx term. So basically, if you have the other script you want to integrate with your either the Alteryx workflow or the UiPath workflow, so you can integrate your code with the process. So there's also something not in common or different emphasis on these tools. So for the RPA tool, usually people use them for automate the process. So what do I mean by that? So just give you an example here. So if you want to open the application or open the web browser to enter the website, and you need to log into the system, and you want to do some data entry, and click on the submit, click on the next page, click on the download. After that, you just close the application. So we are talking about this is kind of a manual process usually you need to perform by the human. And this is what usually the RPA tool doing, and that can automate this process for you. And when we talk about like the tool Alteryx, we mainly focus on the data or the analytic process, right? So we can handle very complex reporting. You can build a very complex reporting solutions or any spatials or advanced analytics. It's just out of the box solution for you to consume. Now we also have the Intelligence Suite for you to consume. So overall, the UiPath and Alteryx, they both can solve many data automation problems, but they have different emphasis here. So the first use case I'm gonna discuss is use the UiPath, the RPA, to run the Alteryx process. So there's a couple steps you need to perform. So I'm just discussing briefly in these 4 steps. So first of all, you need the Alteryx server. So you publish the workflow to the Alteryx server, then just host there, maybe put it in your private studio. Then you need to grab your private studio API keys to to call those function. Like you need to get a list of the workflow, or you want to trigger the jobs in the Alteryx server. And then the third step is to download the activity package in the UiPath. So this is what the UiPath announced a month ago, and they shared in the Alteryx gallery. So you need to install this activity in the UiPath Studio. Again, don't confuse here, not in the Alteryx Designer, but in the UiPath Studio. So after you install that, you can just use the activity package to to build a workflow in the UiPath, which can trigger the Alteryx job. So just give you the highlight, the detail, the screenshot. You can see. So first step, we just need to publish to the Alteryx server. So this is just screenshot the demo workflow I'm just gonna show. So once you've done that, we just need to go to the Alteryx gallery, and you need to grab those keys. So this is very important. This will use for the third step, which is for setup for this activity package. So this third step is you need to go into the UIPath, and you can just use the key and to enter here to set up the connection to the Alteryx gallery. Then you can see the list of the activity there, like get app jobs, get questions, or get job outputs. So basically the list that you just see here, it's converted to the activity here. So once you have that, you can just drag and drop this in the UIPath to build your process. So the final step, you just need to configure the connection, and by giving the link, the URL for your Alteryx server, the gallery, and the API key and the secret to set up and test the connection, and you're ready to go. Let's see. Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna jump to the UIPath to show you the demo here. So basically, I'm just gonna to configure the gallery API and connection in the UIPath, and perform and to try to run a job, and through the UIPath, which calls the Alteryx job. So first of all, let me just go to this is the workflow I'm just gonna show here. So you can see this is the Alteryx server gallery, and if I'm just want to run this, it's asking for, hey, how many decimal place you want to choose, and we can, have the numerical up or down to choose the decimal and then run the job. So this all the steps, it's all performed in the web interface in the Alteryx server, the gallery. And the next step, so what if we want to utilize the API to perform the same job here? So you can see this is just the report. Just give you the idea what this look like. And this is just the result of this workflow. And then now I'm just gonna go to the UIPath here. So first of all, this is a UIPath interface. And the first step, we need to go to the manage package and the search for the Alteryx. So there's an Alteryx activity package you need to install. And once you done that, we can just search for the Alteryx, and there's all kinds of activity you can use. So from the Alteryx perspective, understanding here, this one, you can think of this as a kind of single tools here, right? So just like you can just select the tool and drag and drop to the canvas, similar to the UIPath, you can just select this, hold, and drag and drop to your canvas here. Yeah. So you can see this is just drag and drop here. All right, so the most important thing is you need to set up the connection. So we have the URL, we have the API key and the secret key. And when you need to use the Alteryx application scope and to configure this, and all the activity will just under this scope. And when we just click on the configure, so this is the interface for you to set up the URL, the API key, and the secret. And once you test the connection and make sure it's a connect successfully, and you're good to go, and starting utilize those activity here. So this is just the demo workflow. So what I'm gonna do is, hey, I want to get the list of the workflow, and I want to search the keywords with the Excel. And once I have done that, I will just use another called a run job. So I will just run that workflow. And once I done that, I will just use another activity, which is get a job. So you can see this is just utilize the different Alteryx Gallery API endpoint and the wrap up into the activity, right? So get a job here, and after that you can just grab the output, the job output, and for the demo I just showed in the Alteryx, the server I just ran, and should have the the output, you have the Excel output, and this is doing the same thing here. So get the job output. So this will just grab the output and save to the location you specify here. And let me just run this, just give you the idea what this is doing. So you can see this automatically minimize the window and starting process the UIPath workflow in the background, and took around like 10 seconds to run as I'm testing. All right, so to the end of the workflow, so what I have added is this will just give me the message. The output have been saved to the certain folder. And this will open the folder for me as well. So if I go back, so this should be finished. Let me just post that. So this is at the bottom of this workflow or to the end of the workflow. So I'm just triggering and open this folder. And if I go to this folder, and this is where I save for the output. So notice here, there's a little difference here, but you can just the download the output will save as .raw file type. You just need to change to the Excel, or you can have the small script to do that. So once this not Excel, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So once we change to the Excel format, so we can see this is the same report we expect here. So just to recap, this UIPath by utilize the Alteryx activity package, and this by triggering all few different Alteryx Gallery API endpoint to run the job and to save to my local drive, and also open the folder as well. So again, if they open the output, this just give me exactly the same because I configured the same parameter, which is decimal. And here is if we just very similar to this result, and then you can just download. That's the same thing, but one is from the web interface, one is through the UIPath Alteryx activity package. So this is how we can leverage the Alteryx Gallery API and using the UIPath to call the Alteryx workflow. So next, I'm just gonna show the demo also how you can do another way around, right? So you can use the Alteryx to run the UIPath process. So the tool we're gonna utilize is the run command. So as you know, the run command tool is very powerful, and if you have any executable, you almost can do many things you might be thinking not possible in the Alteryx, but actually that's doable. So just using the run command. So in our case, if we're gonna just gonna build a workflow and have the process first handle in the Alteryx, then we just trigger the run command, and by using this uirobot.exe here, and trigger the UIPath workflow. So the demo I'm going to show here yes, I have the Alteryx app, which allows the user to enter the stock ticker, and based on the user input ticker, and we use the Alteryx to build the URL for the Yahoo Finance and go to the ticker's website. And after that, this will save to the CSV file. And then we just use the run command to trigger the UiPath. So UiPath, what the UiPath workflow do will just grab this CSV file and read the URL and open the browser and go to the Yahoo Finance web. All right, so let me first go to the Alteryx. So this is the workflow or the app. So first of all, I just have the placeholder here for the stock ticker. So once I have that, I have the the text box tool for the user to update the ticker. So by default, I'm just place the Alteryx stock ticker here, and use a formula tool to construct the URL string. So by entering the finance.yahoo.com and concatenate with the stock ticker. So this will be the complete URL for the company ticker. And once we done that, this will just save to the CSV file called the URL. And you can see another step. Once we finish the saving to the CSV, I'm just using the run command tool. Hey, first use the UI robot executable to trigger the UiPath workflow. So this UiPath workflow is just doing one thing, just based on the CSV file, read from that, and open the browser. So let me just show you how this looks like. This is a very small UiPath workflow here. So you can see this is in the UiPath Studio interface. So first, just read the CSV. So you can see here in the title here. So read the CSV, which we just create and saved from the Alteryx. And we just, based on the CSV, and we save the value on the URL, and we open the browser and based on this URL. So I'm not just gonna directly run from the UiPath, but instead I'm just gonna run this from the Alteryx here. So we can run this, use this magic wand, because this is an analytic app. We can just enter another one, just give you an idea. We can enter the Apple and click on the finish, which will run and create a file and create a CSV file. And also this will trigger, you can see this run command will trigger the UI robot. And UI robot will further just open this web page. You can see this is Apple's web page in the Yahoo Finance. And that's how we can, using the Alteryx, to trigger the UiPath workflows. All right, so this is today's content from my side, using the UiPath to call the Alteryx, or another way around, using the Alteryx to call the UiPath. Just
Awesome.
let me know. Yeah, just let me know if you have any question. But yeah, the idea here, I mean, yes, yeah, just yeah, definitely. If you're interested in the UiPath and you want to explore this, I definitely go to the the page to download the Alteryx activity package and start building that. Yeah.
Quinn, can you share? You have those bottom 3 links in the notes and under that slide. Can you share those bottom 3 links in the chat?
Yes, I could.
Awesome. And thank you definitely for sharing. Does anybody have questions about the UiPath integration And again, we have more use cases and things that we can share in relation to this, but we just wanted to give everyone a high-level overview. The UiPath integration, there is a community version of UiPath. So even if you're just trying to understand RPA, you can do this for free. So don't feel like everything that we talked about today has licensing costs and stuff associated with it. You've got UiPath that you can use for free. I gave that Taboola link. So if you don't even have an Alteryx instance with the Intelligence Suite, you can even start working on parsing the PDFs. And sometimes what I help people with is essentially, hey, I can't justify that license right now because my boss or my team doesn't see that we have this many number of PDFs that we need to do. And if you can start by showing them, hey, I can accomplish some of these things, and it would be easier if I had some of the Alteryx components, then you can start with just showing them what could be extracted from PDFs using something that's free or cheap, and then showing them, hey, here's what the Intelligence Suite is capable of if you have a trial license, and then obviously build yourself a case for getting exposure to these additional tools, because this area is definitely at the forefront as we're talking about some different data sources and things that may be a little harder for us to get to. Awesome. And we'll kind of open the floor for questions. Please feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions.
Yeah, Bruce Baum here. Great demo. Just wondering if you shared the links, but is it possible to share the slides? I'm not sure if there's any restrictions you might have on sharing the slides with the user group.
We can share those slides. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah. So yeah, I can save to Ignite and share the Ignite link.
Yeah. Thank you. Really helpful. We're just now starting to use UiPath. I work at Siemens Energy here in Orlando over by UCF, and rather timely that this user group was featuring this integration with UiPath. So thanks again.
You're welcome. Yeah, and this was just the user group one. So Quinn and I both work for an Alteryx partner, but we love sharing. One of the things that we're planning on doing is this is just a small portion of a webinar that Quinn is going to be doing, and that should be here at the end of the month in October. I think we're shooting for the 20th. And AP asked, is the recording going to be available? I wish it were available right away. It takes me a little bit to do it because essentially what I do is I get to pull it down from Zoom, and then I have to publish that to YouTube and then share the YouTube link with the Alteryx community. But you'll see it there so if you went to the community page to sign up for the user group, I just put those right there in our channel. So then if you have any questions or things relating to it, we can continue the chat there as well. Yeah, so again, please don't hesitate. I mean, in terms of asking for assets and different things, normally as long as it's not a customer of Alteryx that's sharing, we're more than happy to do that and give everyone the information. And thanks for the question, Bruce.